It's been 358 days since Russian President Vladimir Putin started his war in Ukraine. Despite major losses on the Russian side, the atrocities continue. This time, Putin is targeting Ukrainian children. Yes, children.
Our correspondent Shelby Wilder is live in Lviv, Ukraine with the latest. Shelby.
Hi, it's great to be with you. Well, to bring you up to date on the latest, overnight, Russia launched a fresh scale of attacks on Ukraine. 36 missiles were launched. We know that 16 of those were shot down, but the remaining missiles hit critical infrastructure. At least one person was killed, multiple injured in central Ukraine. And even where we are in the west of the country, we were woken up in the middle of the night by air raid sirens because missiles were still in the air. But shifting over to the news that we have been following, which is a report that was published this week by the Conflict Observatory. This is an American NGO that's backed by the U.S. State Department. They found that over 6,000 Ukrainian children were being held in camps, approximately 43 camps and child custody facilities by the Russian government. This is since the full-scale invasion began almost 1 year ago. And the Yale Research Humanitarian Lab helped compile this data. And what they found is that these holding facilities stretch from Crimea, which is Russian-occupied Ukraine, across mainland Russia and even to Siberia. Now, the apparent goal of these camps is to relocate and re-educate Ukrainian children, essentially trying to make them Russian. We also heard about the expedited process of adopting Ukrainian children by Russia. This sprawling operation is being led by the highest levels of the Kremlin. And it really just adds to the growing list of Russian atrocities that have been committed in Ukraine since this war began. Approximately 65,000 war crimes thus far have been documented in Ukraine. And just going back to this report, one really horrifying aspect is that it was found that two camps in particular, in Crimea and Chechnya, it was found that children there were being subjected to military training. This included teaching them about firearms, military vehicles, and so forth. And the children in these camps, their ages range from just mere months to up to 17 years old. We did hear the U.S. State Department address this issue this week in a briefing. We heard their spokesperson, Ned Price, say that the system was, quote, a part of the Kremlin's systematic efforts to suppress and deny Ukrainian identity, history, and culture. He also added that Russia's actions breached the Geneva Convention and that Putin's horrific implications in this war will be affecting Ukrainian children for generations to come. Unsurprisingly, Russian officials denied this report and these findings, but the evidence is clear. And ultimately, these horrific atrocities are being carried out right now on Ukrainian children in Russian camps at the moment. So hopefully, with this information coming to light, it will not only apply pressure on Russia, but try and stop these atrocities from taking place. With that, back to you.
Shelby Wilder, thank you. Such a disturbing and shocking story. I mean, it's just hard to imagine this happening anywhere, especially today. We're going to bring in our panel to discuss former senior naval intelligence officer and board member of overseers at Stanford University's Hoover Institute, John Jordan, and retired Marine, former Congressman and Newsmax contributor, Michael Grimm. Michael, you know, I don't even want to ask your reaction about the indoctrination camps because they're absolutely horrible, but this seems to be at the very tippy top of the list of war crimes. And if so, recently, back in January, President Biden signed into law a Justice for Victims of War Crimes Act. So potentially Putin could be tried in the United States for some of these war crimes. Do you think he'll ever pay the price he should pay for what he has done?
Unfortunately, no. But, you know, you talk about something as heinous as this. There's a line that you would think any human being, as much of a dictator as he may be, you would think there's a line human beings wouldn't cross one. And for me, it's children are always at the top of the list. You just don't cross that line. I understand that they might torture soldiers and, you know, they might indiscriminately shoot and kill non-combatants and civilians. But you're talking about indoctrinating children, and it's so heinous. He should be held accountable. I doubt, though, he ultimately will.